You like this song?
We live now anyway, so
it sounds like around here. Could have waited a couple minutes, but you know, he got a camera. It's three of us.
Yeah.
Three of you. You see all the cameras? Point them out.
He's actually a part of the show tonight.
They're copying me.
That is you.
Oh, that's me.
We're about to start the show. You gonna go upstairs with Grandma? Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna sandwich.
Say goodnight. say goodnight. So you wanna hang around?
You know, he kind of ran through our knobs on the soundboard, so you know, hopefully everything sounds good.
It's only good.
Look at this.
The
Yeah.
only thing we live on right now is YouTube, looks like.
Yeah.
Hey, Grandpa, look. Look what it says.
What does it say?
Hi.
Grandpa. Look.
That's not what it says. What does it
It
say?
says elephant.
That was for him, not you.
No, on the bottom.
We're live in the studio. +1, -1. Another episode of Above Average Black Men. Yours truly, Chris Quinton Sr.
Chris Jr., as always, here to empower, inspire, and uplift the community. You might hear some additional noise going on right now in the mix.
We have different sound effects right now. He's not going to be with us long, though. Yeah, but welcome to another episode.
Let's get it started.
Yeah, let's get it started.
You know, I feel like in honor of Devin, I don't know if Mackenzie's going to be able to do this one for us, but make sure you like, follow, subscribe on all platforms. We're on Spotify, YouTube. Are we on Apple yet? Not
Not
yet,
yet.
but we'll get
Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio,
Podbean. Like, it's the list is very growing.
Facebook,
It's hard to
YouTube,
keep track.
Instagram, yeah.
But make sure you like, follow, subscribe, come comment with us, share your thoughts, share your opinions, share topics that you might want us to talk about, share individuals that you might want us to connect with. Definitely want to continue to kind of build on the conversations that we had and expand our community here. But excited for tonight's topic, Dad. You want to kind of bring that to the
Yeah,
forefront?
man, I got my sound effects over here. Like, you mix it. Yeah, we're going to talk about the topic is what you invest in will determine who you are. That's the topic, man. What I mean is, if you are, for instance, if you don't invest in yourself, you know, you can never be successful. You know, what you put in yourself. If you put a lot of garbage in, or if you put a lot of stuff in yourself, man, it makes no sense. Like, it's somebody I know that, Mackenzie, who I'm talking to, and you know, he's not doing anything positive, but he thinks he's going to turn out positive. You know, and what happens is like, I use a basketball analogy. If you're right-handed, you can work on your left hand all you want, but if you don't trust it, what happens when you get in trouble? You go back to your right hand. And I think a lot of people don't realize the stuff they're putting in is not setting them up for success; it's setting them up for failure. I know your favorite, like in relationships, you like talking about relationships. Same thing in relationships. You have to invest in a relationship and invest in yourself. If not, it's going to go stagnant. Eventually, it's going to die.
Yeah, and I think investing kind of, you know, most people, I don't know if even they think about it in terms of like money aspect, but I certainly do. Like, that comes to mind, like investing in terms of, it's very similar. Like, you know, what you put in, you actually get out. Sometimes there's highs, sometimes there's lows, like with the market. So I think, you know, people don't think of kind of what they're investing in a lot of times with their time and effort and attention. and don't understand that, what you put in is what you get out.
Yeah, but I think people, when they hear say investments, right? I think everybody thinks finance, but it's also about um, relationships, your job, almost every area of your life. Like if you're on the job and you want to get promoted, you got to learn the job, and you got to learn the other skills you need to be successful. So you got to invest in yourself. You can't just go to work, be at 8 o'clock, and get off at 5 o'clock, and go home and do that every day, and expect somebody to promote you. If you're in a relationship, the same thing. You want to grow and you want your spouse, your mate to grow. That means you got to invest in yourselves. Uh, we went down to the Black History Museum. That's the and man, it really hit home when I was in there walking around. We got a chance to see the whole museum. We spent the whole day in there to see history.
Mhm.
And where we've been and where we come from, and how it's a whole generation after generation investing in themselves, becoming educated, learning the craft, passing it on so it gets better with every generation. So whether it's music, whether it was sports, whether it was literature, in every aspect of life, to see like, wow, man, these people invest in themselves, the time they put in, you know, to get to where they want to get.
I don't think people look at it as
Okay.
investing. Like,
Go ahead.
I think it's funny, like, of course, we use the sports analogy because that's what kind of the world around that we grew up in. But even like, I don't think we looked at it kind of in the idea of investing. It was just more so like, all right, this is practice, or you just kind of going through the motions to do things without thinking that, where you invest your time and effort, or where you even put your attention at or to, is like, what you get on the end of that. Even kind of, you reap what you sow at the end of the day. Like what you put in is certainly what comes out. And I think on the opposite end of investing, like, some people don't invest in the wisest of ways. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, they're investing time in things that are more, I would say, a waste or a detriment to them.
But that's why I think if you look around, for instance, if I'm saying I want to be a better husband, but I keep doing the same stuff every day, I'm never going to get better.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying you got to go out and compare yourself to somebody else, but what are the things that you're lacking in? You may need to be around different people to learn different things. When I decided I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I had to invest in myself. I couldn't just say I'm gonna start a business and stay the same every day. I had to get better. I had to read books. I had to listen to certain people. I had to glean and try to figure out what works, what's my avenue, what's my skill. And even now, as I get older,
Yeah.
I can't just sit around and eat French fries and hamburgers, and say, man, I want to be in shape. So you have to invest in yourself. And I think too many of us, we fail to reach our dreams, or we become stagnant because we don't invest in ourselves.
I think people don't realize or understand, when you don't invest in
So, Gary,
yourself, you're still producing an outcome. You know, like, when you do invest in yourself, or like take the time to, whether that's better yourself through reading, or better yourself through listening to audiobooks, or like just kind of putting yourself in different experiences, like trying to, invest in yourself, maybe different cultures. I think not doing anything is a way of investing in a way, where if you're not doing anything, you're staying stagnant, or in some cases you regress.
and I think, like I said, if I go back to the museum, and I go back to African Americans,
We're not investing in anything
when we didn't
right now.
have a lot, we were investing in ourselves. We were reading. We were investing in our community. We were supporting black businesses. We were doing all those things.
Mhm.
But then we got to a point for this almost generation, we felt like we kind of arrived. We stopped doing it. We don't value education anymore. I was talking to some people on Monday. We were talking on Tuesday. We were talking about voting, and people says, "Well, why don't vote? I go out, I march, I do all this stuff." Yeah, but people died so you could vote. Yeah, people died, literally died, so you can vote. And back in the day, we honestly felt, I still do, but some people don't, that we were investing in ourselves, in our community, in our race, by fighting for the right to vote.
Mhm.
We wanted to be able to say things and have input. And now we kind of fast forward. We don't. What do we invest in now? We don't invest in our schools. A lot of our schools are inner city schools are the worst. It's not like we don't have black millionaires. It's not like we don't have black politicians. You know, even divorce rate is crazy because people, maybe one person is and somebody's not investing in themselves. They just, and I know this is right up your alley, but I'm just along for the ride. So I think those are the things that we got to start thinking about and why it's important to invest. And
I don't think people see the worth in investing or even kind of think about it or consider it. I think something that you mentioned in reference early on is that people just kind of want or see outcomes. You know what I mean? I want to be rich. I want to be this. I want to be that. But they don't think about, I need to invest in. For instance, like I'm writing. You know what I mean? I started writing scripts and I want to get into production. Started from nothing. Like I don't know anything. Had to invest the time into actually learning, like 101 basics of fundamentals of writing and storytelling. Uh, then it was kind of taking it up another step or a notch. After kind of investing that time into that, it's like investing time in the next thing to continue to level up and like constant pushing yourself. And I don't think people really think about that. Again, I could easily, I want to make a movie and just kind of jump in front of a camera and do these things, or I could invest the time into really learning and understanding the tricks of the trade, starting from zero to build something that's long lasting.
But it also has to be a certain amount of selflessness, because when you're selfish, it's all about you. So you don't see the need to invest in yourself. But when you're attached to somebody or you have goals and you realize that it can be generational or the implications are a little wider spread, you see the value in investing in yourself. You see the value of reaping and sowing. I'm sow seeds, I'm reap the benefits. I'm not just going to reap the benefits, but it can be generational.
Yeah.
But I think as a people, we stop investing in ourselves. We don't read the way we used to read. We don't value education the way we used to value education. We spend more time looking at reality TV shows.
Or we on the phone, we on that
social media,
Instagram, like TikTok, all the social media. Yeah, the quick fixes.
I will say, I don't know if you kind of touched on and maybe think of it while you're thinking about writing, but I don't think people have the patience anymore.
But that goes back to investing in yourself because
microwave.
You can't. It's like, for instance, if I plant a rose bush, when I plant it and I water it, I'm not going to come out the next day, man, and have this whole rose bush. I have to water it, take care of it. I have to take the weeds out. It's going to take a minute. And I think it's the same way when you invest in yourself. Anything that you put in yourself right away that's going to be instant, it's not sustainable.
Yeah,
it's not. I mean, that's why so many people hit the lottery, they end up broke. Because when you invest in yourself, you value the work it takes to get somewhere. When somebody gives you something, most people don't. And that's why people at the lottery, they didn't work for that. They bought a ticket, they got rich. Now it's like, hey, I just got it. And I think that's another reason why we live in a time now where it's such a strong sense of entitlement. Because people they don't want to invest, they want you to give them something.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that certainly kind of contributes to, how society is at the moment. Like, people want handouts, like, you know what I mean? Or they want this quick guide to success. Like, again, related into the stock market and investing. Like, when you invest, they don't always hit, you know what I mean? Or sometimes it takes time. You don't necessarily see the results right away. Like, some days it'll be green and some days are red.
But that's why people don't.
Or you feel stagnant.
That's why people don't believe.
And that's why some people don't invest in themselves. For that reason too.
And I get, like Gary just made a comment. Too many people are investing in the world and not God or humanity. And I agree. But even in the church, we have people who they don't invest in themselves. They don't study. They don't, they don't try to grow themselves. They just see God as a vending machine. And they're not trying to make themselves better. Or I'm just gonna pray. I'm still act like an idiot. I'm just gonna pray. He's just gonna fix it. So no matter what you do, even and I'll see makes it from a spiritual aspect. Investing in yourself means you got to read. No different from if you're trying to be if you have an occupation, you're trying to learn your skills, you're trying to get good. You got to invest in what you're doing. And people, patience is part of it. And I think another part of it is instant gratification. We live in a time now where folk are used to instant gratification. I mean, everything is microwavable. Everything is microwavable now.
So that's what people think success looks like, or like whatever it is their goals.
I use the analogy. When I was growing up, we had Jiffy Pop. You had to put the thing, put it over the stove, and you shake it, and the corn was popped and the thing. Well, we have popcorn.
Believe it or not, I saw that at one point in time.
Yeah, now you put in the microwave, just walk away.
Yeah.
You know, when I grew up,
2 minutes,
you know,
22 seconds.
you know, toaster ovens was the great invention. It was the great invention, man. Yo, toaster ovens, what you had to cook it. You know,
I can't live
noodles
without
and
an air
noodles.
fryer
How'd
now.
you toast it before?
You know, you had a toaster, but you wasn't, you know, you toasted or you
Wow.
cooked. You actually cooked. Toaster ovens sped up the process. So I mean, now we're in a time, man. You know, everybody is using now. It's even more because air fryers now. You put an air fryer set up, you walk away.
But I think that's even more of a reason now where uh, it's probably even more important to take the time to invest in yourself when so many other people are not. Like that's how you really can separate yourself from the pack. It's just doing what other people aren't necessarily willing to do. And I mean, unfortunately,
But
it seems like the bar is probably set pretty low. So it doesn't seem like you gotta jump through hoops and do things that are crazy to separate yourself from the pack. Like, if we talk about reading, you can literally read 10 minutes every day. It will set you leaps and bounds further than anyone else if you do that for a month,
but I'm gonna tell
2
you,
months,
I'm
3
gonna,
months, a year.
I'm gonna tell you what's funny. I heard somebody say this morning. I was listening to the devotion this morning, and I never thought about it like this. And somebody said it's funny because you would think if really, he says, if you go back in time where the fastest thing was a horse, you know, and that's the pace society we were at.
Mm-hmm.
People were reading books, people were taking their time, people were reading. He says, then they invented the car, sped up, so society sped up. So he said it's funny because even though we have access to more information, you know, even though theoretically we have the same amount of time, we have less time because we got so many things going on right now.
Yeah.
So people don't take the time to invest in themselves. People don't take the time to research. People don't take time to say, how can I be better? I just want this promotion. I just want this job. You know, or you owe me something. You know, my brother. You know,
It's
when
actually kind of funny to think about, like when you said,
Yeah.
like just how, with transportation, things got faster a little bit. Technology certainly kind of led to that too. Yeah, and I do
the
think
world's
that,
better.
right, and I think back in the day when people were reading, it was like you ain't had nothing to do. You ain't had nothing better to do with your time. Sit
Well,
there and
you-
read,
a
and like
perfect
things are
example.
slowed down. But now everything's just boom, boom,
Well,
click,
you
click,
have.
click.
Well, it's not that you have things better to do with your time. I mean, they understood the value of education because they
Yeah.
saw the gap. They saw the only
I
way.
didn't mean that.
I know what you meant, but I'm saying the only way to participate in the so-called American dream is to be somewhat educated.
Right.
If you earned the farm, you know how to count your money. You know, because they were ripping you off.
Yeah.
I go back to the museum.
People were more willing to figure it out though back then versus where today it's just it's quick, and if I don't get it quick, it's
And I don't want. I'm not
on to the
dumping
next
on
thing.
us as black people. But I go back
That's everybody.
I go back to the museum. It was probably more Caucasians, or as many Caucasians in the museum was African Americans. It's crazy. Who's soaking up the history? You know, I mean, soaking it up. You know, not just walking around talking on their phone. I mean, stopping, examining stuff, having conversation. I mean, they were engaged. You know, and I was amazed. I got in there, man. I'm going back. I was like, man, I couldn't. You know, again, I was blown away because even though because you read, when you see the visual stuff, you know, the stuff that you see in comedy.
Mhm.
Mom's Baby, Richard Pryor, man. You know, these are two icons in comedy, man. And how they made all ethnic groups laugh. Everybody, no matter what you know, they were universal. The comedy was universal. People went to see them, didn't matter if they was black or white, which is kind of ironic, but they did, and they were funny. Or when you look at the sports, he's the first black hockey player, man. Or when you look at it and you see how far tennis has come because of the Venuses. You know, I mean, there's so many things that you look at. You look at our history. You know, the basketball. You know, it's funny because we all know what Iverson did for basketball. When you actually see the transition, it's like, wow. You know, like, yeah. You know, this dude changed the culture. You know, it's just amazing. But those are all people who invest in themselves. Those are people who say, okay, I want to do this. I'm going to hone my craft. You know, I'm going to be the best version of whoever I can be, you know, to get this done.
I think one thing that we probably touched upon that I want to dig into a little bit more is that investing takes sacrifice.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's an excellent point. That is an excellent point.
It takes sacrifice.
I give you a perfect example. This is probably young. I don't know if people always say, you know, hey, what's up, man? Oh, I'd be doing better if I had your hand. People used to always say that. And so my response is, well, it meant like if you're playing cards, you had to do your hand. So my response would always be, yeah, but if you have my hand, you had to play the same game.
Yeah,
And that's the people don't want
to.
or people come to me now and say, hey man, I always wanted to have a nonprofit, I always wanted to do what you're doing. They would come to me, well, what do you do? And I said, okay, first of all, I say successful people have a routine. Successful people ain't sleeping at 9 o'clock today, 10 o'clock tomorrow, 11 o'clock the next day, 4 o'clock. They have a routine. Their day has a rhythm to it. Second of all, to your point, you got to give something up. You can't be saying, I want to be, I want to have a nonprofit, I want to go to school, talk to kids, but you out here drinking and smoking and getting high and hanging out with people
Not
like
doing
to be
nothing
arrested.
towards
Yeah,
talking
you
to
can't
kids.
do that. Or you got to, what are you going to talk to them about?
Put yourself in that position
Yeah.
to be honest.
So, but I think people, and you mentioned it, I think it was a great point. People go right to the outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
They go right to the outcomes. Don't understand no matter what you do to be successful, it's sacrificing. You have to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And I think we live in a society because even if you look at media, people don't get the sacrifice. They just think, okay, dude walked up and he just started hitting homers. And LeBron just got, he's 36 years old, still playing like he's 26 years old. People don't understand the sacrifice he makes for his body, the stuff he has to do to be prepared to play. He invests in himself because he believes in himself, which is the other part. You gotta. Do you believe in yourself enough to invest in yourself?
I think probably again comparing where we are now versus probably back in the day, like when people had an idea or heard of something that they liked, I think it always went to like, man, how can I do that? Figure it out, reading books. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like maybe we get so overwhelmed with just seeing people's successes and don't see anything else that, again, people just automatically assume or think like, well, why can't I just jump ahead that it's
like
success?
You don't see the sacrifices, and I think that's a huge problem. They don't show you that. Like another example, I heard a story about Jason Kidd when he was coming up. And Saturday nights, he's going to the gym, put up extra shots instead of going out. And he had homies that were like making fun of him, like, why are you doing this? I mean, you look at him now.
Right. But what's funny too? Nobody wants to hear that from certain people.
But
like I was just thinking about, we talk about sports a lot, like LeBron James. People don't want to hear like, okay, LeBron.
But even this, okay,
you're 16.
like Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson was Colin Kaepernick and all those guys before they were. Mm-hmm. He was protesting, doing things, but you don't think, he had to invest in himself and he had to make sacrifice to be successful.
Right.
He knew he couldn't be average when he went to play because he's the first African American to play in Major League Baseball. He knew he couldn't be average. He also had to sacrifice because he had to swallow his pride. His temperament had to be good. His temperament Jack Johnson was a little different. He was a little cocky. He was like Muhammad Ali before Muhammad Ali victory. But I think so. He understood it. Or Muhammad Ali. That's a perfect example. Muhammad Ali, he gave up the people don't understand. He gave up the best years of his boxing career for what he believed. Mm-hmm. For what he believed. He sacrificed, but he invested in himself because you know what? I'm going to be a person of character and integrity. Yeah. So it's amazing, man. But I think it goes back to some of what Gary said is, how many of us think about our contributions, that we're contributing to humanity. That is not just about us.
Yeah, I think that's just certain or another part of it too is the other side of investing isn't necessarily about just investing in yourself. Certainly kind of what you're investing or contributing to society or your community, Again, some people, we talk about if you're not investing in anything, no time, no effort, you're not talking to anybody. But we sit back and complain about all the things that are taking place. So it's like,
but if you're selfish, it's all about you. Mm-hmm. If it's selfish and you are a parent and you don't invest in yourself, it becomes like a generational curse. Because you're entrenched in poverty, so now your kids are entrenched in poverty unless something comes along and breaks the cycle. Your spouse, the brother, has to sacrifice and not have, because you're not investing in yourself. So nothing gets better. Mm-hmm. Nothing changes. And you have generation after generation who stay in the projects. Generation to generation. I was poor, my daddy poor, my granddaddy was poor. Generation to generation. I'm used to not having anything. Or like I said, the population I work with, substance abuse, that's part of their problem, man. They don't invest in themselves. They're looking for the shortcut.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's how we don't invest in our communities. Like, you know what I mean? It's just a people. I don't think it's something that we consistently do. And it don't even necessarily have to be monetary because not everybody can always offer that. of course we do need the money, but it can just be investing your time maybe at a local rec center and working with kids, some local nonprofit that's working with kids or youth.
Yeah.
Like that is certainly a
Going to
need out there.
schools, like
Yeah.
that's one thing I like. That career day we did at your old school. I think
I'm
that
glad
was
you said that because I got some coming
the
up.
greatest.
No, but even that, people will come to me and say, "Oh man, yeah, I want to do." Like for instance, we had a day where we were going to be painting the school, and people were, "Oh man, let me know when
That's
you're doing
a form of
something.
investing.
Let me know when you're doing something. Yo, I'm in. One person came, and it was cool. But I'm just saying, one person.
But you know
came.
what's
One person-
upsetting or disheartening is we're going to see a ton of people online that are complaining about the schools, complaining about the neighborhood, complaining about this or that. But then when we have people like yourself and other, community leaders that I know of, when it comes time to actually put action to these words, people are.
We're going to go on and read. I'm looking for individuals help. We're going to go on and read the kids. Some kids in the lower grades. We're going to read too. There's a couple things that I want to really do an MOK project. I got to figure out what it's going to look like this year. But people don't understand that when you invest, it does pay dividends. Like for instance, if I'm helping kids,
Investing dividends. Money.
well, because if you say, I use my example, if I'm working with a group of young kids and I can help them, be productive, positive citizens, it helps the community. It does. Because they're not out there robbing, mugging, doing all the crazy stuff. Therefore they're not writing graffiti or tearing stuff up. They're doing positive stuff in the community. So those little, you may think it's not a big deal, but it is.
Yeah.
If you invest in your children and your children now make better decisions, they marry somebody or get involved in relationships, most of the time they're going to make better decisions. So it becomes generational. And I go back to the part where, the spiritual side of it. People says, man, how did you get like that? And I'm far from perfect, but it takes time. I'm up 4:30 in the morning. You know how I get up. I get up, I do my devotion, I do the stuff I got to do. That devotion goes out to almost 60 people. That's not a 2-minute thing.
Not a 2-minute read.
I'll read what's on my heart, man. You learn, it's family is tough. Family is tough, man, because your mom says the same thing. And I know y'all don't. I know sometimes y'all don't, because I get the heart like 2 seconds later. I'm like, come on, man. But anyway,
I'm a quick reader.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna do it quick.
I just hit the highlights.
But the point I'm making is, it can't. And I think as a people, and I'm not trying to make this just about us, but as a people, there was a time, man, and I say I want to go to the museum with you and with some, because I would love to get into the discussion about it, what we see. To get to talk about it, because I think that needs to happen. You're going there to see, man, like everybody knows Chuck Berry had a whole bunch of cars, but to go in and hear why he had all those cars, how he was able to go, the very fear that wouldn't let him in, he was able to go back there and be a headliner, or Denzel Washington, who tried out for a musical in his career and didn't make it, and then he went back into being Fences at the same theater. When you start the history, this is crazy when you read the history, man. The stuff that we invented, the things that we did, it was like, wow, and back then they would have been considered ordinary people. Like now we got the super jocks and everything, but you see some of the stuff they did, man. What Bill Russell stood for. It's amazing when you look at the history of what we were able to accomplish as a people, and those people did it with a sense of community. It wasn't about me, just me. And I think that's what's lacking in our community. And to me, that's what made me come up with the topic, because we don't invest in each other. We don't invest in we say we want to support, and all Black businesses are not jacked up, but we don't even try to make an effort.
Yeah, and in my mind, I'm just like thinking, like, man, why don't we? Because it's not necessarily, I would say, the fun part, or it doesn't necessarily get all the glory, but it certainly should. Like I think we do need to. Again, we always kind of talk about athletics because it's easier to talk about for us, but like, talking about the person that is praising for the practice and the work that they put in, and not just like the finished product or result. I think like the enjoying the journey, one, is part of investing, but then like kind of from us, like maybe to get more people excited about that, is like we start to kind of highlight and speak on it more.
But it's hard to get people excited about
About working.
Yeah, and I'm not, and it's funny because Gary just said there's too many of us in displaced prize and the television. You talk about this all the time, man. You talk about this all the time. Social media is taking over. There's people who will tell you something on social. You can see something with your own eyes, and something be on social media that's contrary to what you saw, and people tell you what's so like that's the truth.
That's a fake page, right?
That's the truth. It's like when you tell somebody wrestling is fake. Sorry. And you say wrestling is fake, and they look at you. Yeah, it's like, come on, man. Like, get out. And I'm thinking to myself, yo, somebody hit you in the head with a folding chair. If you get up, you ain't gonna get even. You will come out next week and be like, yo, no. But I think we don't pour into each other. We don't. You don't hear words like mentor. You don't hear words like disciple. Like I can't get a group of guys and say, okay, let's go mentor. We don't do that anymore. So we don't invest. And to me, that's another form of investing is saying, okay, I may not be a millionaire, I may not have the greatest job, but I can introduce somebody to character, to integrity, hard work. I can do this. That's investing in your community. We don't do those things anymore.
No.
It's about us. It's about us independent. And he mentioned television. I do. I was on a PD day in the school, and it was for majority Caucasian teachers. And we were talking about elevating voices of color.
Mm-hmm.
So, regular spill, hey, we don't get into some racial issues. I need everybody to feel comfortable. This is a safe space. So my first question was, how many learned about African Americans through TV, through the media, through social media? Like 2/3.
I did a research project on that.
2/3 classmates, okay, and they were cool with it. So let me ask you a question. That's a false narrative. But that's the narrative you're building, you're painting people.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this, I'm gonna get to the investor point. So I said, so how can you reach somebody who you're not even trying to understand? Your community and their community is two different things. Oh, that's easy. We just need to bring them into our community. But who says your community is the right community? Everything in your community is not right, just like everything in the African American community is not right. But now I go back to investing because we're not investing in our kids to teach them the history. They don't know. Mm-hmm. So they think I'm supposed to act like an idiot. They think I'm supposed to live up to the images on TV, walk around with the saggy pants, man. And they don't understand that.
But I think even just while you were mentioning and saying those things, it just kind of made me realize we're harping on kind of the positive sides of things that people need to invest on. But again, I feel like we said this maybe at the top of the episode, but with social media and kind of what people are taking on a daily basis, they don't even realizing that they're investing they are investing again, as I say in a way.
Somebody put the internet in their lives.
I know. People really feel like that. But no, I think, when you're investing and you're taking in just these negative images or thoughts sometimes that are being spewed online, that seeps out into your thoughts and how you react.
But that's my point. And I want to shout out Isaac because he takes a bus to the kids to African American History Museum every year for free.
Love.
So he does.
Put me on that bus.
But that's investing. That's investing.
I'm
gonna put a bus trip together for a group of guys. I already working on it, man. And that's investing. And I think we don't do enough of that. And it's funny because I was talking to somebody about communities, and they asked me what's different.
I wanted to talk about that.
The difference is when we had a community, the worst guy in the neighborhood, when your mom walked past, would stop cursing. The worst guy in the neighborhood called your mom Miss, Mrs., and your dad Mr. It was no disrespect there. Now, man, they on.
Kids trying to fight adults
because nobody invested in them. Say, you don't come from you're not from African slaves. That's not your history. Your history is not crack dealers or drug dealers or opiate dealers or gang. That's not who you are. You may be exposed to that right now, but you have a rich history. Yeah. It's like the Harlem Globetrotters. They were real basketball players. They were undefeated. But if you don't know history, you listen to what people who don't look like us make it seem like it's a bunch of buffoonery and a bunch of clowns. Those guys are real basketball. Actually, Wilt Chamberlain played with them. They were real basketball players. Or if you look at basketball was changed when all the sports were changed when African Americans got introduced to the sport. Mm-hmm. Why shouldn't they introduced when they let them play? So what? Do you know back then we would support it. Like when blacks started playing baseball, people don't know this real thing about baseball, which is hilarious. one of the reasons that they decided to have African Americans play baseball was because the blacks were always selling out. The blacks were selling out every baseball game. Every baseball game, the Negro League, they were selling out every game. Every game they were selling out. They were playing at night. They were playing at night before the major league started playing at night. And the reason why they had to play night games was because they all worked during the day. They all worked. Yeah, that was, or people come in the game, you talking about they were maids, they were butlers, they were filling, and they sold out. And they was like, yo, we can sell out too, but we got to get them to come, because they tried it and they weren't successful at it, because one, all Caucasians wasn't supporting it like we do.
We supporting it.
So they knew that was like a form of entertainment.
Yeah.
And they knew. So that's part of this whole, and I hate to say it, but typically people don't want to integrate unless there's something in it for them.
Yeah.
And I know I'm gonna get some flack about that, but that's just the reality of it all.
Yes.
But they did it. But that was part of it because we had such a support. We invested in each other. We spent our last $5 to go down and see Sexual Page and all those guys play baseball.
Mm-hmm.
We spent our last $2 to go see Muhammad Ali. When those guys like that, we invested in them.
Like $2.
We did that though. When the black movies used to come out with Pam Grier and Jim Brown and all of them, we flocked to the movie to see those movies, man.
Yeah, I mean, because I think it was even bigger than kind of investing in them monetarily. It was just like representation. You know what I mean? Like we had to support people that look like us because.
But they would tell you on the radio, yo, this radio, the movie's coming up, man. We got to support it so we can get a box office.
Right.
And people would run down and say, there was a time when it was so you couldn't. Literally, probably every other month there was a black movie coming out. I remember Dolomite. You got to research before y'all talk. But there was this whole thing with Shaft. Isaac Casey, the thing. But there was so many black movies coming out, man. Jim Brown walked away from fresh football career. It was just different.
Yeah.
And black folks supported them. Movie theaters in our neighborhoods did very well. Which is before your time. The Pearl used to be on Ridge Avenue. Was always sold out. I remember my pop taking me there. Did very well because we would go see those movies.
I think one thing I did want to kind of get back to that you mentioned or reference was how like Isaac takes a bus of kids.
Yeah.
That's certainly
Brother Strawberry Man.
Right. Yeah, but I think that's a form of investing in your community right there that we kind of need to get back to. Is like taking these kids or our youth outside of their comfort zones. And like putting them in a different situation.
But that's a sacrifice because he doesn't.
Sacrifice,
he's like me.
Yes.
We made it out.
Yeah,
definitely. You got to go back and do that.
A major sacrifice on his part. But again, one of the ultimate investments because you potentially are changing people's lives by just taking them and putting them in different environments.
And we got to do a show from down there, man.
I would love to do a show.
When I was in there, man, and it's kind of funny because I've always wanted to go and things kept always. So this time we were purposeful about it. We went down, it was kind of funny because we stayed in Georgetown, and a lot of us stayed in Georgetown.
Of course not.
The hotel we was at was like through the roof, man. They turned the sheet back and stuff like that. So we were bougie for the trip, man. So it was a wedding there, so it was a few more of us in there. But I say that because it was interesting because people, they just assume.
Yeah.
You're acceptable because you're staying in Georgetown. You're acceptable. Nobody's like looking out the corner. Everybody's like super nice and everything. I mean, so now we're at the Holiday Inn, probably would have been a little different. But I'm just saying, we walking through the neighborhood, nobody's saying, nobody's looking at you. Everybody, it's just different because if you're staying in Georgetown, it's just an assumption.
Right.
So I say that because this goes back to us investing. We should be doing that in our own neighborhoods. We should be able to walk around our own neighborhoods, man, without feel like somebody's going to shoot us, stab us, rob us, and break us down. And what Isaac did or what Isaac does is similar to me. You're trying to break the cycle by introducing these kids to something else. I said it, and I believe it. That should be a mandatory school trip. Every high school to take these kids, every ninth grade class, to go down there to the African History Museum. They do.
We'll need a bunch of chaperones.
Yeah, but they do because it's not just about to be in a place, man, where your history dominates. To be in a place where it's all about people who look like you, and it's not, it's not from a movie everybody walk around Wakanda, and I love the movie, but that wasn't real, and that had more unity and pride and love than we do today. So just to be in that position to see that stuff, like I would love to go with a group of adults
Probably
and
need
have
to
a
go before high
conversation.
school.
They have,
Middle
well, I
school.
say ninth grade because I don't know. Middle
I
school,
think we need to go
I
like
think you can do that.
yeah, I think, I mean,
six,
you
seven,
probably
eighth
could do,
grade.
but I just think it's a maturity level. And I'm thinking
Yeah.
because now all these kids are 3 years behind mature wise because of COVID and everything.
I mean, you know
But-
what? I was just thinking about like kind of maybe even taking them to give them a sense of hope early, like you know what I mean, like giving them those
Yeah.
images and
Well,
putting them around.
I was
that.
thinking ninth grade because they say that's the year when most of the people drop out of high school. They say
And
the
that's
year-
why I said
yeah.
before, like try
So-
to get them right before that. Like,
But I just think to put them in that environment, they can see a bunch of people who invest in themselves and invest in their community. People who, because they gave back. They did. They gave back. They invested in the community. They were a part of the community. They were seeing the community. And even that, when I go back and I look at Tulsa, when they did Tulsa map, when they burned down Tulsa and everything, and I got the pictures and stuff. You look at what they had. They invested in themselves. They were able to build a community that was better than any community around there, and it was all African Americans. They were laborers. They had their own doctors, their own lawyers. They had this community, man, that was functioning, man, that was doing very, very, very well. That was not dependent upon, but other people that don't look like us. And it was amazing what you can do when you invest in yourself.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you can do when you invest in yourself, and that's why it got tore down because you could have that going across the country. These folk building towns and all kinds of stuff. It's better than our town. They building stuff better than us. Yeah.
Way too many stories like that throughout the
Yeah.
United States. I just feel like Tulsa, Oklahoma is that one that gets highlighted the most. Certainly probably one of the most catastrophic ones that's happened within our history. But I mean, man, just kind of, with me and doing research and just
I agree.
kind of seeing things throughout the country, like that's happened on way too many
Well,
occasions.
it's funny you should say that because to me, move should have been in there. What happened the first move with Frank Rizzo down in Politan Village? Because it was similar to what happened in Tulsa. Well, you went into this whole, you just tore down a couple houses, killed people in it, buried them over, and built new houses, which is now University of Pennsylvania, and just kept moving.
Yeah.
Didn't even recognize the
Went
fact.
right down
The
there,
second
like-
one was a little different, but
Right.
this one, because it wasn't social media, wasn't all the thing. They went in there, blew the house up. They blew the house up. Anybody else was dead. They bulldozed, burned it over. It was done. Done deal. The second one, because of social media and everything, got more of a play. And Wilson Good was the mayor. You got a black mayor and black people got killed. It got bigger play. But that was my point where, you have to you got to build, to have strong communities, you got to invest in yourself. Because if you invest in yourself, you can build a stronger community. When that happened to move, they were able to do what they always do, separate us.
Yeah.
Because they didn't act like the rest of the black people, because they were representing something else instead of thinking, well, if it can happen to them, it can happen to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we struggle to invest in ourselves, because we separate ourselves. We say, forget that we all black. And as my grandma said, it was a race riot. We all be on the same side of the street. Well, it can't happen to me because I'm more educated. It can't happen to me because I don't live in that neighborhood. It can't happen to me because I do, because of my status.
Right.
And dealing with the reality, instead of dealing with the reality of it can happen because we all the same color. And if I don't like somebody with a certain color, if I think somebody with certain color is inferior, I don't care the position they hold.
But that goes back to what you said a little bit earlier on about investing and how it kind of comes with a bit of selflessness, where it's like you have to be able to see beyond just yourself.
I think this is where we got to do a better job of investing, and I think we have to be purposeful and intentional about it.
Purposeful
And intentional about it. It can't be we assume that everybody understands it. We assume that this is going to happen. It can't be, because maybe 30 years ago it was a safe assumption. It's not a safe assumption now. I'm dealing with an adult right now who I'm trying to find out any kind of way to inspire dudes. I'm trying all kind of ways, man. But yeah, I know.
Because of this extra record.
But I'm trying. And I learned, and I said this to somebody today. I said, what I learned, or what I was reminded of, if you take a person and they don't have a lot, and you give them a little bit. The danger is they come content with a little bit. And I got a little bit now, so I don't care about anybody else. I don't care. I've arrived. Now it's a little bit because you got a bigger picture, but it's and I think that's what's happened to a lot of us because they look up and say, hey, now, we can go to any school you want to go to. Theoretically, yes. Reality, no. So now we've arrived as Black people. There's no more racism, which is dumb. Oh, we can do this, we can do that. Yeah, you know what? I can say a lot of stuff I can do. Don't mean I will. Or don't mean I'm able. And I think that's hurt us when it comes to investment because when people start to rest where they are and think mediocrity is a place to be, why am I going to invest in myself and anybody else? Now it's about me. Or if you create a sense of, like, to me, and now what y'all say, the media purposely presents this case of hopelessness.
Yeah.
I was telling your mom, every time something happens in the Middle East, they go right to terrorism. And do with terrorism. I mean, nobody's even talking about that. They go right to terrorism because it strikes fear in people's hearts.
It's crazy. And like I just keep thinking about, investing in a community and just in a broader scheme, I think it's like human nature and just nature, period. Nothing on this earth really survives alone.
Well, animals look out for each other. Right. We don't even want to dump. I mean, animals, lions look out for lions. Bears look out for bears. Tigers look out for tigers.
But even
squirrels look out for squirrels.
To an extent,
skunks look out for skunks.
People, we've been able to kind of build society because we've been able to do so many things in groups. You know what I mean? It has no one person or individual has been able to kind of build a society.
Because we don't. Again, it's about investing in ourselves and understanding the history where we came from. I was watching this Republican politician. Mistake number one, I would never debate a college kid on a college campus because they step to the mic, they armed with something. You already know it because that's all they do. They ain't working, they prepare. And they got to a discussion about Israel and Palestine. I think I talked a little bit last week, and he says, I'm not taking anybody's side. But based on what you just said, because Israel was able to claim the land, that is rightfully their land. And he said, isn't that sort of like what y'all did to the Indians?
It's called manifest.
But it was a great comparison. It was the way it was great because he's absolutely right. So I say that, but if you don't invest yourself and understand your history, Napoleon Hill said it. People don't understand their history, you're destined to repeat it. And that's what you're seeing right now. We're losing voter rights, and we sitting back like, we got to admit it ain't gonna happen. They still got lynching laws on some of the books. Hey, we ain't gonna happen.
Sundown towns.
Our schools are being undereducated, being underfunded. All those you can associate with our schools, and we still like this board of education versus Brown. We still back because we won that. We're not even thinking about we're going back. The gap is being wider. Our kids. Something came out 2 weeks ago that the average kid in public school system is what 2 to 4 years behind academically. That's crazy.
At all school?
That was the average kid. But every school is impacted by it. They just, they focus on the inner city because it's a great story. Nobody's going to say Cheltenham, all the tax dollars you pay, but I'm sure Cheltenham has his pocket.
Right.
Because, but it's shocking. But the thing is, there's no plan to fix it.
No. That's a whole nother conversation.
No, but this is why we got to invest in ourselves. We need to, even if you start with the young kids, we should be going to schools, and I'm trying to get it started, reading to these kids, man. We should go to school and let them see, okay, you know what? It's okay to be a garbage man, whatever the technical term is. You know what? It's okay to be all these different occupations. It's okay.
Manager.
Not feeding a bunch of money, but we still do. Everybody's not going to college, man. So we need to go in and talk to these kids about, hey, but you need to learn how to count. You need to learn how to do certain things, basic skills. Especially we keep saying, this, that, but we're not doing nothing to combat it.
And that's a big problem too. I don't think we invest enough in the things that are beneficial to the kids or youth or society. One thing that somebody brought up, not only the media has a stranglehold on people or impacts us, and certainly the music as well. Like it just kind of all glorifies kind of getting rich quick.
Who buys the music?
These simple things.
We do.
Yeah.
We make them into gold records. We do.
Sometimes
we're the primary.
Right now, I think they put this stuff out there intentionally.
They do.
It's not
Actually,
half is not even
He really
good.
said that recently.
So let me
Yeah.
say this.
They put dollars behind trash.
But let
on
me say
purpose.
this. Yeah, because but who owns these companies? Most of them. But
We'll get canceled.
so I'm just saying, if you look at a lot of these, recently now you had people who look like they started owning these companies, but for the longest time, they were people from a different ethnic group. I'm just saying, who was putting it out there? Why? Because target our population. It's like
labeled back by somebody else.
invest in ourselves. When you go into the black community, you don't see no Read to Succeed bulletin boards. What do you see? Beer,
Malt liquor,
alcohol,
Corporate.
vapors, all,
Mhm.
that's what you see on the bulletin boards now. That's what you see in the bulletin boards in our neighborhood. You do, these little, and I know I'm getting in trouble for this, these little Asian stores that sell alcohol and all that stuff, you don't see them in white communities. They're in our communities.
Yeah.
They're
You
in
see
our
a lot of
communities.
the
And we,
unhealthiest things.
and yeah, so, but you think we would combat it and go into schools and talk to these kids about the evils of alcohol, about making good choices, no. We just live our lives, man. And then we wonder why the neighborhood is decaying around us, because that's the influencer for our kids. And then we listen to the stats about, the single father, but what are you doing as a man? You don't have to be a dad to have an impact on somebody. You can impact somebody that's not your kids. You can take kids on the trip to Strawberry.
Yeah.
You know what? Why are we in schools talking to these kids about this music? Because I said, "Hi, we would break it down, man. Bring your favorite lyrics in."
Yeah.
Some of them suck, and then we would dissect
Some
those.
of them.
We would dissect those lyrics. This is what you're listening to. This is what you're actually singing and saying, because they're programmed to listen to the beat. But nobody's investing. I'm saying,
They're saying that it's catchy,
or
it's
we
like,
just
you
want to
realize
say,
what you're saying is
we
catchy?
want to say, just don't listen to it. Come on, man. That's like the stupid commercial. This was the dumbest commercial in the world. Just say no to drugs. What the?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, but that's my point. Yeah, I'm sure how that
It's
works.
just
But my point is, when you invest in people, it doesn't mean everybody's going to change. I want to make that abundantly clear.
Mhm.
When you invest, it means you're sowing the seeds. You're putting it out there. You're letting them know, hey, you can be somebody different. You may not want to go to college, but you ain't got to be a hustler on the corner.
Mhm.
You don't have to be out here mugging people, beating people up. You need to respect adults. You need to respect. Have enough respect for yourself.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, like I said, in this museum, you could see how it was changing some of the Caucasians, because you could tell they were like deep. They were standing for 5 minutes looking at some of this stuff, man.
I'm so sorry.
I didn't know
Just
that.
days. Well, I don't think it was, I'm sorry, but they gained the understanding that a lot of crap that they heard wasn't real. Because a lot of people think we didn't contribute anything to this country. A lot of people don't understand that we built this country.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Brick by brick.
So yeah, literally brick by brick. So what you could see in their faces, man, that they were being changed, man, because they reading this stuff and they're standing there almost crying, man. Because whether it's literature, whether it's athletics, whatever it is, is in there. They break it down, and they go on depth. And if you really pay attention to the history, it's a linear line. It's a linear that you can follow. It takes you through the history, man. Literally, we started on the third floor and went all the way down. We saw pretty much everything. We was only supposed to be in there for a couple hours, ended up being there all day long. But it was not only educational, it was enlightening, man. It was edifying, man. It was like, man, I saw things totally different. And I know a little about history, but to see that whole timeline from where African Americans, from way back when, as people would say, to now, man, the contributions we made in society is crazy. However, even then, they were investing in themselves. Harlem Renaissance, Harlem got destroyed because they introduced drugs. How they introduced drugs? Black people cocaine, and started selling it because Caucasians could not get in Harlem any other way, because blacks had Harlem on lockdown. So they introduced it to drugs. How they get it in there? Black folk, selling to black folk.
Yeah. I think
That's how they got it in there.
Something that I wanted to kind of call out is that investing against selfless and it's just bigger than ourselves. Like all of the things that you probably went through and you learned or relearned within that museum, I'm just kind of in my mind like, man, I know all of those people at a point in time, they were sacrificing something that was bigger than themselves, investing in their time, investing in their education, investing in their craft, and again, to the point where they realized it was certainly bigger than just themselves at that moment,
See, I hear you guys say, like, you know, you got to be selfless and different things like that. But when you talk about investing in yourself, I go with this question up to you guys. I feel like you have to be a little selfish in that regard.
Yeah.
Don't you agree? Like, if you want to better yourself, you want to read
But,
more, you want to do this.
But
That's on you.
No, you're right. But I was using it in two different contexts. I was using the fact that, yeah, to put yourself in a position to do things, yeah, you got to be a little selfish to yourself. However, but it should be for the greater good. It shouldn't be, I'm making a second because it's all about me. Like I said, it's like you break the poverty, the cycle of poverty. You break it because somebody has to step up to the plate and say, I'm going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has to say that I'm going to either get educated, I'm going to become an entrepreneur, I'm going to invent something, something other than I'm going to keep in the lottery and hope I hit the lottery to break the cycle of my house. Because even if you hit the lottery, that doesn't break the cycle of the mentality. Material-wise, you may break the cycle for a little bit, but you're not in a position mentally to keep it. So it's not even sustainable. Right. So yeah, to your point, I agree with you 100%. But your bigger plan has to be at some point to include other people. If you go back to Martin Luther King's speech, I Had a Dream, and I love breaking it down. It wasn't just about him. He talked about so kids across America play together. White and black kids. He mentioned his kids, but it was a dream for the country too. Yeah, it was about African Americans, but it also was a country. And he knew that, if you're never going to be a great country as you have all the division that was in it.
Right.
You're never going to be a great country, the division. And that's why you see a lot of these third world countries, they're struggling because they're fighting within. They're fighting within, man.
I mean, yeah. We're getting there.
Yeah.
A lot of infighting here, too.
Yeah. And I mean, it's at a new level. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. It's at a whole new level, man. These folks is like, man, I just think we have to get to a point where we understand, man, that we have to start thinking of the greater good. And everything is not just about me. We have to get to a point where, as a group of people, man, where we have to start telling ourselves, man, that, you know what, I'm at least share this information for somebody who may want. You can't make anybody go, or at least going to pour into something because they may come along for the ride. I may be able to break. It's like, and it's frustrating. I know it's frustrating, man. I know you want to, sometimes, man, you just want to get people and go, and it's not for everybody. And I understand it. But it doesn't mean you don't make the information accessible. It doesn't mean that you just take it and you just sit on it. Because what happens is, what's happening right now is what actually happens, because you sit on, don't share it with anybody, so the next generation don't have it. So if somebody's coming by, you don't have the wherewithal or the stick-to-itiveness, or the tenacity to go after what you go after, it just starts skipping generations.
That's exactly where we're at. Investing is the long game.
And you get these people now who don't care about their lives, they don't care about their else's lives.
Or just they live in this moment of now.
It's like when I talk to parents, they more excited about the prom than their kid graduating.
That might need to be up. Man, some of these proms are getting crazy. Proms costing as much as weddings. They got the weddings are getting a whole.
You gotta rent the Lamborghini,
just to take a pictures in.
And if you can afford it, more power to you. I'm not going to get in and tell somebody, but if your kid ain't even in college,
they taking out loans to do something.
That's crazy. But that's my point. Where that's not investing in yourself. You invest in the image.
It's a bad.
Is what you're doing, and you're in the image, but not in yourself.
Short term.
Like, look, man, take that money for a Lamborghini, man, and rent you a Honda from somewhere, man, or whatever you rent from one. If you gotta have it, man, and put the rest of that money in the bank, or put it towards your college education. Buy a computer and stop thinking you're a PlayStation and whatever. We and everything else is a computer, because it's not.
Kids is making money from
it. Yeah, but I get it, but investing in yourself is making sure in your position where that's not taking over your life.
Yeah.
Investing in yourself is saying, you know what, I know when to put this down. Investing in yourself is, and now you don't have to pick up a book. I still read, but do an audio book.
Easy. Somebody read it for you.
Heck, you can get stuff on YouTube videos now.
I do that too.
So I'm just saying, it's too many ways.
You can constantly just be taking in information.
Too many opportunities, too many methods out there to invest in yourself to get better.
Yeah.
And not in competition with anybody else. I'm saying to be the best version of you for anybody to walk around here not getting better. For anybody to walk around here living under the radar, knowing nothing, not trying to learn anything. Come on, man.
So I guess in our last few minutes here, like, where would you tell someone to start? If they're like thinking like, okay, yeah, I do want to invest in myself, or maybe even in the community, or help someone to kind of take that push towards investing? Like, where do you start?
Yeah, the same question. What would it take for us to surely wake up before it's too late?
Yeah.
To me, and this is crazy, but Isaac can relate to what I'm about to say. We went to a small school called Stokely Schoolyard. Stokely School, our schoolyard, that's what we played sports. And we went to the museum. We took trips. We learned about Black history. We learned about Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis when they came and played those black and white clips. So they showed, wasn't a great image, but they showed, white people sicking the dogs on people, spitting lunchroom. We learned all about that. You got to start with let people know the history. Folk got to stop waking up in the morning thinking I'm entitled. I'm gonna jump on my bed. Hey, everything's gonna be fine.
We made it.
I'm gonna get something. Hey, Isaac give the brother Strawberry Magic give away food. I'm gonna get down. No, start with history. Teach people their history. Let them know that we went through a lot to get to where we are now. And to me, I would go a step further. I would show them what we lost. How we regressed. How all of a sudden those same voter rights that we fought for that we're losing now. How we have businesses, we have whole communities, that now our communities are run down. Somebody said this to me, and I never thought about it until he said it. And now when I go, he said, "You ever notice that every city you go to, any street named after Martin Luther King is always in a bad neighborhood?"
I mean, we already do that.
I'm just saying though, ain't that crazy? That's crazy.
Yeah, that's probably intentional.
Yeah, it is. But my point is, we should have enough respect. We should have enough respect, man, that we're not allowing that to happen.
Yeah.
How you live on the street of a civil rights leader and you out there selling crack on the corner, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X Boulevard. You out there selling crack.
We don't invest in ourselves or like
my point. But
invest in teaching each other or I just feel like we don't necessarily have an interest in that as a community. Looking to invest in the next man.
But I think we got to
invest in our communities.
And I know we got to close down. One, we got to turn TVs off, man. We got to stop raising our kids, looking at all these videos and all this crazy stuff. That we got to turn it off.
Or even if we know where that's at, like make content that's
but you got to have conversations. Just don't take those dinner conversations that we had, that my father had with me. Those times when you ride and you talk and the music is not blasting all the time. When you can have father, son, father, daughter, mom, son, when you can have just regular conversation without being distracted by somebody getting their head cut off or blown up or whatever, you need to have those things. You need to expose your kids to positive things. Like Mackenzie wanting to say here, that's a bond that you get. We got to get back to that. I think the second thing is we have to take a vested interest in our communities, man. We got to stop letting our communities just run down, and we go to the polls and vote for the same people who come out and promise us the same bull crap every 2 years, every 4 years. We fall for the okie doke, we put them right back in office, and nothing changes.
I think one thing that you said that like resonated with me is when you were talking about kind of history and then also like showing people the things that we changed or the things that we've lost over the years. I think we also need to hold the mirror up to ourselves and show us.
I agree.
What we really look like, what we're really dealing with, what we're really doing to ourselves.
People don't want to see that.
People don't want to see that. We don't want to talk about it or acknowledge that. And I think that's a big part of investing and finding out where to invest.
People died.
Looking at us.
People died. For the right not to be hung. Mm-hmm. People put their life on line to fight against that. People died to vote, risk being killed, whatever, to vote. They did those things. So what we do now, we don't vote, we kill each other. We walk around shooting each other now. They ain't gotta do it to us. We doing it now. And every time, every generation, it gets worse and worse because nobody's investing in our neighborhood and we're not. They're taking libraries out of schools. Isn't it crazy, man? Libraries out of schools for a population that already can't read. Ain't nobody standing up fussing and crying about that.
We're going to say that it's systematic and just leave it at
that. It is, yeah. But my point is, it is systematic. But when do we fight back? But when do we begin to fight back?
Leave it at that.
When do we begin to fight back and say enough's enough? Yo, my kid's gonna have one. So I think those are the things that we got to pay attention to.
It's like, what are we doing within that system? Nothing.
People, when they were closing swimming pools and libraries, people were more upset about the swimming pools than the libraries.
Yeah.
They're more upset about swimming pool. They closing the pool. Well, they close the library. Man, it's hot outside. The pool, dude, the library got air conditioning.
I was just about to say the library got AC.
What do you value? And to my point, if you're not, I don't think people say, like, I do what I do because I want to invest in people. You know, even I get frustrated, whatever, that's why I continue to do what I do, because I want to invest in people. You know, I believe you pass on what you have. You know, I believe we're obligated, you know, to help our brothers and our sisters become better versions of who they are, so they can have some level of success. Understand that everybody's not going to get it. There's going to be some frustrating times, but it doesn't mean we stop.
Yeah.
But the problem is, how can you do that if you're not in a position to do it because you don't know anything? You're not pouring in yourself. You know, you doing none of the things that you need to do. You sitting there watching reality TV. You don't miss a sports. You don't miss a sports game or whatever. You can talk about that left and right, but when it's time to vote, you don't even know what about it.
I think that's kind of fun. People don't think about where they're spending most of their time, or time that they are kind of wasting, or that they could use in other ways that may be more beneficial to them. So, just in closing, any statements from you guys? I feel like we touched a lot here today.
And I go back to what I said. I think we need to figure out some kind of way, man, where, like, to me, the museum should be a mandatory trip. I think that should be. But I also think you need to add, the part of history needs to be added for a comparison to what we've lost. You know, we've gained 100 yards, but we probably given back 25.
I think just 25.
You know, yeah, I'm just saying we've gained 100 yards, we've probably given back 25, man, and counting.
That's what I'm saying.
And counting, man. And
penalty after penalty.
I don't think people understand that, and I know we live in a time now that's visual. You know, people got to see stuff, man. They, you know, hearing stuff just don't do it. They got to see stuff. I mean, folk need to recognize, man, where we were to where we are now. It's funny. I was watching this thing with Larry Bird, and he was scolding basketball players because, you know, on both sides, he was saying the guys in his era was saying these guys don't play, you know, good basketball, you know, and the guys in this era was saying that the old schoolers they couldn't play. And he was like, let me tell you something. He says, have you seen Steph Curry? He was like, yo, have you seen these guys with Brian James?
Game's not even the same.
Yeah. But he was also saying that, you know, like the guys were saying, like Bird, you know, JJ Redick, of all people shouldn't be saying anything. Larry Bird was tough enough, wasn't physical, you know, that those guys, the physicality today, you know, back in the day couldn't play. Those guys would thrive if you allowed them to play like that now. They changed the rules for Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, if you allow them to bump and do this stuff, but I'm saying because they be killing. They be knocking the snot out of these guys.
6'8", 250 guys were centers.
Yeah, but you know what? But you know what? You missed the point. It wasn't about athleticism back then. The point then, it was no and one. That's a whole different show. They can foul you as many times as they wanted to.
But I mean,
so that's why they changed the rules.
Matters.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but the ball still got to go to the basket. Yeah. The point I'm making is, you know, as we say, you know, when you're talking about history, you got to look at the totality of it all. You can't just look at segments of it, and you got to understand that there is a connection. Some of those guys, vice versa, there's guys that can be playing both ways, and not making it about sports. But if you look at the history of sports, you got to look at it in whole. Okay. You can't just look at part of it. It's like, you know, it's like I'm gonna deal with the Cowboy fans now. It's my last sport analogy. I'm watching it. Everybody talking about the Cowboys should have won. Or they played their A game, they closed the gap. Yeah, but you played your A game, and this team played their D game, and you still lost. That's like, yo, I mean, you know what I mean? But that mirrors our society. That's how we look at a society. You know what? The shiny car that can go 5 miles an hour versus the other car that can go 100 miles an hour, because they, you know, we have to get, you know, you guys look at the totality, look at the whole picture, and we don't do that. And part of the whole picture is saying, you know what, I'm looking at the whole picture. Like I said, history. I think that needs to happen so people can see, yo, this is where we were. Look how far we've come, but look what we're giving back.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to show that. I think we definitely need to show that, like, because I don't think people kind of think of it in that regards. Like I said, I probably just threw out kind of the systematic part, which is certainly a part of it, but I think we kind of unwillingly have given some things back or lost some ground or traction on our own. It's a matter of us not investing in ourselves and us not investing into the community. But yeah.
I don't think it's unwillingly. I just think we surrendered it because we thought we made it.
Yeah,
I made it, man. I can go to any, or my kids can go to any school they want to go to, but they still go to school on the block with no resources. Yeah, but somebody told you, well, they can go to any school. Yeah, but they still stuck in
We're making the wrong sacrifices, y'all. We need to start investing into, like I said, ourselves, our community.
Rec centers.
Yeah, like the rec centers, the community leaders, and the politicians.
And churches got to do a better job. Like during COVID, churches should have opened their doors for tutoring. They had to sit on top of each other. But if you were having services, you should have opened up for the kids to come to be tutored, for the kids to have internet. Kids shouldn't have to be going to Starbucks to get internet. When
it's
there's
teachers
10
in that
churches in the
church.
neighborhood. But I'm just saying, you got 10 churches in the neighborhood, kid got to go to Starbucks to get internet so he can do a school class. Because so I mean, as society as a whole, totality, we have to do better. And we have to begin to, nothing's going to change until we begin to invest in something other than ourselves.
And you heard that it ain't going to change unless we invest in ourselves, everybody. Thank you, as always, for listening to us on Above Average Black Men. Make sure you check us out, Devin.
Yeah, like, follow, subscribe, share, comment. We're on Instagram, Podbean. We're on Instagram tonight because I came a little late. That's my fault. But, Facebook Live, Apple Music, Spotify, pretty much everywhere.
All those things.
Unlimited options.
Chris tried to get Mackenzie to leave your part, man. He couldn't.
I did. He didn't sit down for us to do it.
He was standing up posing. He was like,
I tried. Make sure you are empowering, inspiring, and uplifting the community. Thank you all.
See you next week, same time. Peace.
Running back. Sure. Thank you. Good night.
Yeah, you staying here.